General, thank you very much for those remarks, and in particular for raising the human dimensions of insecurity and the particular refugee challenges that so many of our countries now face as a result of the mismanagement sometimes of crises. The floor is now open for questions and comments. I've got a number on my list, and as I've done the last couple of sessions, I'll take 4 or 5 and then return to the panel, and we'll try to close very close to 1 o'clock so that luncheon engagements can be kept punctual. Could I first ask from China, Senior Colonel Bo Zhou?
Thank you, Mr. Chapman. I'm Senior Colonel Zhou Bo from the Ministry of National Defense, China. My question would go to Dato Hishammuddin. As you are fully aware, the tension of the South China Sea has been tremendously eased thanks to joint efforts of both China and ASEAN countries. This is exemplified in last month when China and the Philippines conducted the first round of bilateral talks regarding South China Sea and the conclusion of the framework, as mentioned by you, between China and the ASEAN countries. But you have warned against over-optimism regarding COC, and you have correctly pointed out still the danger of unplanned encounters, either at sea or in the air. So I just wonder, in your eye, how does a perfect COC would look like? Thank you.
Thank you very much. And from Japan, Toshiya Umahara.
Thank you, Dr. Chipman. My question is to General Hayat. Pakistan employs a policy of strategic ambiguity in terms of its nuclear weapons. Yet there's a concern that because of this ambiguity and lack of clear picture, a crisis between Pakistan and India might easily escalate into a conflict between two nuclear powers. How do you manage that? And also, what is your advice to North Korea from a country, from Pakistan as a country which possesses nuclear weapon, but being outside of the NPT? Thank you.
Thank you very much. And from the United States and the IISS, Dana Allen.
Thank you, John. I want to thank all the speakers for their remarks, particularly the Malaysian Defense Minister for his rather eloquent appeal. And to him, I would like to ask the following. President Trump's national security advisor and his chief economic advisor this week published a commentary in the Wall Street Journal which included the following sentence: "The president embarked on his first foreign trip with a clear-eyed view that the world is not a global community, but an arena where nations, non-governmental actors, and businesses engage and compete for advantage." And I might add that there's been a very consistent refrain from President Trump that the rules-based order that we've heard so much about at this meeting has disadvantaged and even defrauded the United States. And so my question is simply, is that vision consistent with the appeal to global solidarity expressed in your remarks?
Thank you. And from Vietnam, Truong Thuy Tran.
Thank you. My question to Malaysian Minister, you mentioned about the chance of black swan, especially unintended and accidental incident at sea, in the air and in the sea, in the South China Sea, remain real. My question is about your assessment about the chance of intended incidents at sea. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And from Malaysia, Jiran bin Majir. Go ahead.
Thank you, Dr. Chipman. A question for Minister Hishammuddin. You mentioned about the Sulu Sea initiative. When is it exactly going to be signed? And in the meantime, are the practicalities of such cooperation ongoing? And the second question I want to ask is about the counter-messaging center set up by Malaysia and Saudi Arabia. I'm not sure how effective it is with Saudi Arabia in the mix. I'm sure a lot of Yemenis would have something to say. But the main question is, will the approach be on a governmental level, or the messaging center will take a more boots on the ground approach by working through the local ulama in the masjid and mosque, so to speak? Thank you.
Thank you. And from the UK, Richard Lloyd Parry.
Thank you. My question is for Minister Hishammuddin. You recently had a meeting of the Five Powers defense arrangement. And in some ways, this arrangement has seemed like a historical relic in recent years, not particularly relevant to current conditions. So I wondered if you could tell us what future you see for the FPDA and how its members, particularly the United Kingdom, what they can do to help Malaysia and Singapore in the new age of uncertainty in which you find yourselves.
Thanks very much. And I'll take one more question also from Malaysia, but perhaps this person might have a question for our Canadian or Pakistani guest. I'm okay with that. Mr. Prasant Paramasan.
Yep, hi. Unfortunately, John, sorry about that. Thanks for the opportunity, but my question is also going to be for Defense Minister Hishammuddin Hussein. But my question was on a slightly different subject. You mentioned one of your 5 challenges being the democratization of information, and in particular fake news, and I think many of us would agree with that. I'm just wondering, there have been conversations by countries in Southeast Asia about the challenges that they're facing domestically and what they're doing individually to combat this threat and challenge. But to what extent do you see the opportunities for regional cooperation in terms of combating fake news and some of these other information and news developments, particularly given the diversity of political systems and media environments within Southeast Asia in particular? Thanks.
Okay, I'm going to take one more and then I'll come back to the panel. Patrick Keller from Germany, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have a question about UN peacekeeping, and it goes to the whole panel, but maybe specifically to the Minister from Canada. As I understand it, the UN peacekeeping model is undergoing a major transformation right now. There are issues about financing, fair burden sharing, but also about the interoperability of participating forces. Where do you see the key challenges for the future of the UN peacekeeping model, and where do you think we are going from here? Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'll return to the panel. I might ask the Canadian Defence Minister to answer the question just posed about peacekeeping. I might invite the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff Committee of Pakistan to perhaps elaborate on his concept of soft balancing. While this question has been raised from the floor, I see it's been raised frequently in my Twitter feed here. So one or two people, I think, might like a clarification from you as to what you think soft balancing really entails. And then, of course, I'll give the bulk of the time to our friend Minister Hishammuddin, who got half a dozen very complex questions. So I'll give him time to think those through. But Canadian Defence Minister first.
Well, thank you. I would have preferred that all the questions had gone to my good friend here. No, the challenges of peacekeeping. This is something I think it's very important. I was at the UN headquarters just lose track of time just last week, and had a discussion with the new UN leadership. One thing that I'm happy about is that the United Nations headquarters themselves understand that the challenges that they face and the reforms that they have implemented and with the various studies that they have conducted. More importantly, we know that there's a challenge with troop contributing nations not coming up to the same standard of training, or troop contributing nations at times not having the same quality of equipment that's brought in. Or if there's a mandate, a robust mandate, that maybe troop contributing nations are not fulfilling the same mandate. These are the challenges the UN does face. But one of the things I was happy about, that it's everybody is talking about those challenges. No one nation is talking about it. Everybody is talking about those. And I was also encouraged about the way forward that the UN is looking at. For example, the integrated approach. We know that the military cannot alone bring stability into an area, that it's going to take whether you call it whole of government, comprehensive, or now integrated approach that the UN is calling it. We need to make sure that we bring all the tools to bear to conflict. We also need to get better at understanding the conflict itself, not just for one particular country, but the region itself and how it impacts the various groups. Plus, we need to be honest with ourselves that this is not the peacekeeping of the past. This is a much different challenge that we are facing. There's threat of radicalization. We need to look at the disparity between wealth. We need to look at the issues of corruption. So once we have that deeper understanding, we can come up with a far better plan. Canada will do its part. We will be announcing a re-engagement into peace support operations, but we know that we need to learn from one another. We will bring our innovative approach where we can, but this is something that is extremely vital. Because as we talk about the challenges of the radical groups in many parts of the world, we need to be very cognizant that we prevent conflict and reduce conflict in certain areas, because otherwise we will not have enough resources as all our collective nations can put together. Hope that answered that question. Thank you.
No, thank you very much. I think what is the alternative to soft balancing? Is it hard balancing? So when I talked about soft balancing, I'm talking about trying to balance out interests, whether they are strategic interests, they are economic interests, they are diplomatic interests. So if those can be reconciled in a manner of constructive engagement, that is what is the soft balancing that I'm speaking about. We have got to make sure that we try and reconcile the extremes, because extremes creates conflict. And if you have to balance the extremes, you have to balance them out. And you only do that in the way of a legitimate and legal way. Use of force or kinetic means, or threat of force, or coercion of force to try and resolve problems is counterproductive. So soft balancing is a means and tools for stability and peace, and that is what requires reinforcement.
Thank you very much. Well, Minister Hishammuddin, a whole array of questions from you, from the Sulu zone to the South China Sea and numerous others. The floor is yours. Take all the time you need.
I think you guys fail to realize that I'm fasting today. But God says that during trying times, He allows us to break fast. So this Evian water sitting in front of me looks very tempting. But guys, these are very important issues, and it is very important that we do engage each other. And I'll take one at a time, dealing with South China Sea first. The General's comment about me being pessimistic about the developments on the COC and DOC is not quite correct. I didn't say that. I said that we have to be guarded. Based on developments on the Code of Conduct and the DOC, we must be guarded and be careful about black swan events. And to quote what I said, unforeseen, unintended accidents that happens in the sea becomes very real. And with the free movement of information, without any filter, and the possibility of it being exploited by others with their own agendas, may create a situation which will spiral out of control and beyond our control. You all must remember that the First World War happened due to an accident. And no matter how well we do in the Code of Conduct in the DOC, we must continue to guard ourselves about the possibilities of accidents, incidents, and unintended events happening way beyond our control. And that could involve fishermen, that it could involve the Coast Guard. It could involve a normal airline. It could be commercial in nature. And that is why Malaysia has made a very conscious effort to engage, and also ASEAN, both the United States of America and China. And we've made it on the ground. I deal directly with the Southern Command in Hainan, and I deal directly with Harry Harris in the Pacific Command, so that the very point that I'm concerned about, the unintended accidents, could be dealt with quickly and swiftly before it spirals out of control. By all means, the discussions and the developments in COC, DOC, I'm very happy how that is going. But as regards to the military-to-military engagement, the military and the Coast Guard engagement, the dealings between fishermen and our Coast Guard, us between neighbors in our region, that we must guard against black swan events, which may, in history has shown us to be, may go out of control. The second point is regarding FPDA, which we met. Sir, if you asked me this question 2 years ago, I would have agreed with you. A legacy, a platform that we were grappling, the five of us, New Zealand, Australia, Singapore, Malaysia, and the UK, to find the way ahead for the five power nations force. But yesterday's meeting was different. We looked at the threat of terrorism and Daesh. It is something that we need to work together, and one of the most important aspects of dealing with terrorism, like I said just now, is the hearts and minds and the sharing of intelligence. And the more we get together and share the information that we have, then we have a better chance of not eradicating extremism and militancy altogether, but at least we have a better chance in preventing people, which really is going through uncharted waters. Never in our history have we seen terrorists using trucks to kill. Not bombs, but machetes and knives. Burning people alive in cages, cutting people's throats on YouTube. I was in the Home Ministry before, and when we were dealing with Al-Qaeda, Jemaah Islamiyah, Nurul Maktub, what is happening around the world now is a totally different uncharted water, which I think these five nations under FPDA has a lot to contribute to. The situation in the Korean Peninsula makes FPDA more important today. And so our exercises and how we approach our exercises with regards to having a balance and a check in this region, in making sure that cool heads and sound minds prevail at the end of the day. We have a better chance, five nations getting together under FPDA and leaving it to the mere Malaysian defense minister, who incidentally is still fasting right now. The third point is regarding Trump's policy. I really don't know. You have to ask him yourself, because it keeps, we're still trying to figure out his policy in our region. And I would like to know very clearly what are the true intentions of the new administration. But before finding that out, there's nothing to stop us from working with the institutions that are already here. I work very closely with the Pacific Command. I work closely with Washington and the institutions and the think tanks that already exist. And they are going to stay way beyond politicians like myself and the president. And when it involves issues relating to our children and grandchildren in this region, I would suggest that all of you also do the same. Putting aside not putting aside totally, but just put it at the back of your head with regards to the political rhetoric, but deal with the institutions that are going to outlive us beyond our political career. beyond President Trump, beyond Hishammuddin. And that is the way forward. And I in Malaysia have managed to do that quite well during my stint. And this brings me to the King Salman Center of International Peace. There's always a tendency that because of the geopolitics and the prejudices out there, there's a tendency we might as well not do anything. But everybody knows that for the good, for evil to move forward, it just means that good people do nothing. So as far as the King Salman Center is concerned, and also the center that has been established in Riyadh, it's just work in progress. As I said just now, we only launched it 4 days ago in KL. The Riyadh was only about 2 weeks ago. But at least we are doing something. And where else and who else is doing the counter-narrative against the evil ideology of IS and Daesh right now? And mark my words, it was not just the monopoly and the purview of Islam. We have extremists in every religion, in every race, in every country. And the template that we are establishing now is not only to combat extreme Islam, but extremism all around. And if we can anchor that with a universal wish for peace, then maybe the majority will be able to stand up and not allow our voices to be hijacked by a majority of people for whatever reason have now taken the stage. So that is our little bit of contribution towards what we are facing today. And it is important that you guys give us some strength in dealing with people who do not follow the rules, those people who do not follow the laws. And Maurice Payne, I was told just now, made that point. Basically, in dealing with people who do not follow the usual and the traditional, we too will have to find the strength to unite, to find new friends, to think outside the box, and have the courage to face them head on. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. May I just press you for one more sentence on the Sulu Sea initiative, perhaps?
I was with Bapak Riyamizad earlier today. Seki Devin was unable to come because his casino was on fire. And this is real time. This initiative that was discussed between the three of us was a realization that to face the militants, we do not need to get all 10 ASEAN countries together. And this is what I mean getting sub-regional cooperation. And if you're talking about the Sulu states, the straits in which the IS have declared allegiance to establish a caliphate will involve Malaysia, Indonesia, and the Philippines. So within the auspices of ASEAN, we decided at least these 3 countries, to avoid being accused of doing nothing, the 3 of us took the initiative to have the joint patrol and the air patrols initiatives in the Sulu Straits. On the 19th is the launch for the maritime patrols. We are waiting for a date to be set for the air patrols. And we have done it successfully before in the Malacca Straits. And there it involves Singapore, DPM nodding away. We've done it before. And basically, sir, we are doing that in the Sulu Straits, bit different people that we're dealing with regards to Islamic militants and pirates when you were dealing with them in the Malacca Straits, but wish us luck. So this is something that, like I said, do not wait for everybody to agree. If you can get just 3 people to agree on an objective and a bridge that is constructive rather than divide, love instead of hate, dealing with an enemy that is very clear and very focused, I really believe that we can be able to do something a bit more than what we are doing today.
Minister Hishammuddin, thank you very much indeed, and for also giving us that detail on the cooperation between the three. If this were in the European context, there's a term of art for this. When it happens within the European Union, the French call it coopération renforcée, which is when just a subset of European countries agree that they have a particular common interest without breaking the sense of unity of the Union as a whole. Those 3 or 4 countries move together on a particular project, and it's interesting and intriguing that ASEAN has shown flexibility in this direction as well. I would like to, on behalf of all the participants here at the Shangri-La Dialogue, extend my thanks to Minister Hishammuddin, Minister Sajjan, and General Hayat for their tremendous presentations today, and invite you all to thank them, and for those of you who can, to proceed to lunch. Thank you very much.